All right then, we got the picture, we got everything going, and my guys looking at things. So greetings indeed to everyone in them chats today, as we come to you with a special, specific broadcast. Well, let's see, when was the last time we did this sort of a thing? Oh my god, I can't remember. But yeah, it's Creators Roundtable, sort of a collab style of multi-streaming nonsense with other creators that we have done in the past. If you have, or if you remember, way back in the day, where basically, you know, there are multiple creators just coming from, you know, elites, at least in this particular instance, community, and discussing things about, well, in this case, a game itself. And today we have come together, a few of us at least, whoever's left essentially doing this sort of thing, or whoever had free time to do it, to talk about Odyssey. And so yeah, the alerts on the sound wise will be muted, and after the stream I'll of course go and say thanks to all the generous folks. But for now, to, you know, be courteous to my co-streamers, co-creators, co-watchmahazits, I'll mute that. So I'll try to moderate today, and I'll try and get things rolling, if you will, so that those guys can talk about it. But I'll try and get my opinions as also in. We'll see how it goes, and well, I suppose let's get into this. Oh, and those that don't know, screw it, we'll introduce ourselves. Just give us a moment.
For me, it's been a lot of fun.
There we go.
Actually, hey, Yamiks is with us.
Yes.
Welcome,
so greetings
my
there,
friend.
folks.
How are you, buddy?
Well, fine. I mean, okay. There's no change in things.
You know, see, Yamiks, that's one of those stupid things Americans ask, that they don't really care how you are. They just want you to say, "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?"
I see. Okay, XC, just let me tell you a story. West Philadelphia, born and raised. Oh boy.
I'm doing a quick poll. What do you think of Odyssey? And I think, should we do just another simple yes, no, up, down?
It's
we'll do that in a second. I see that. Yeah, I see that Paroxysm has joined us. Welcome, Paroxysm. How are you, buddy?
Yeah,
I don't know why I'm doing
going,
this, Yamiks. I'm totally doing Yamiks' job. Yamiks, you take over. I'm done.
Well, all right then. Exegius is doing his thing, and all the others are just joining in. So for today's broadcast, we've brought, whoever's basically left for the Creators Roundtable, and those that don't remember us doing this collaborational co-streaming thing that is called Creators Roundtable. Back in the day, it was our sort of a effort to come together to give, let's say, a common voice between us, the creators, to discuss both issues and positives, you know, and all the interesting things about Elite Dangerous, or, well, sometimes some other things as well. However, it's been literally years since I think years. At least 1 year has been passed.
Yeah, it's been about a year or
last
so
one.
since the last one.
So
So
me, I know you guys did one maybe around fleet carriers. Is that right? Or something like that. You guys did one that I missed when I was like taking a break for a while.
I don't remember. That's how long it's been. I don't remember. Yeah. But it was a great sort of effort between us, the creators, to come together and, you know, just have a sort of a common voice, even if we disagreed a lot, especially yours truly. But whatever, you know, fun. It's giving multiple sort of opinion perspectives. So anyways, I'll probably be moderating today more than talking, hopefully, for all of you. So, let's then start with just basically, well, I suppose introductions, yeah? Or did we do that?
Not really. I mean, we you know, not enough. We should do it more. Talk about, you know, tell each other about each other, yada yada, and introduce each other to each other's streams.
All right then. I'll just go in a roundabout circle then. So, since I'm at the bottom of things, you can't see it in the Discord, but regardless, Exegius is at the top, so our wonderful
alphabetically
tutorial creating... What?
Xy's the top. Oh my.
Oh my. Yeah, but on serious note, though, Exegius here is our beloved tutorial creator for the most part, informing all of us about wonderful content on the internets about Elite Dangerous and sometimes a few other tech gadgets. So go check out his channel, guys, if you haven't.
That's what I try to do for sure. Yeah, are we introducing ourselves? I think that was pretty good there, Yamiks. Yeah,
Right.
I'm trying
I can
to be
found at. Just the last thing I'll say is I can be found at YouTube/CMDR Exegius. Yeah, it's possible to spell, but you'll get it. The Googles will figure it out.
You can be found by just simply typing in Exegius,
That's true. You can also just Google Exegius. When I picked the name because of that. I'd never seen another one, that spelling of it before. So yeah, good to be here. Thanks for putting this together, Yamiks.
I tried.
And then there's me. I am Commander Paroxysm. Used to do YouTube videos, mostly just stream now. And YouTube doesn't like to cooperate with me when I do stream, so mostly I do this on Twitch now. So you guys can find me at twitch.tv/CMDR_Paroxysm, which is PAROXSYM. Don't let it autocorrect it to YSM like Google always does. You'll never find me.
Damn you, Google.
Yeah, and just quickly, I'm gonna interject because my chat's a little confused about the poll I put up because it's very, very simple. Just Odyssey, yes or no. And what I mean by that, guys, we'll get into obviously issues around it, but I just wanted to make a very simple
but first we need to get to the last of our members.
I just wanted to jump that in because my chat was really confused. So now, Spatula, take it away, buddy.
Who, me? Oh, no.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I'm here. Hello, the Space Canadian detective here, broadcasting from the YouTubes. And I would say Google Elite Dangus, but then it'll be like, did you mean Elite Dangerous? And completely cut me out because YouTube doesn't understand the importance of the Dangus. But that's fine because YouTube will learn. YouTube will pay. And yes, it's been a while, as Yamiks mentioned, since there's been a Creators Roundtable. This is the first one that we're doing really, since Odyssey's, launched and been patched a little bit. So I'm looking forward to the future discussion in our different Dangoid opinions.
Fair enough. So, I suppose we could actually start with Exegius's question of Elite Dangerous, yes or no, and basically go from there, I suppose. So, yeah, I suppose let's go in a row there, Exegius.
Right, we're gonna have to start going
answer your own question
at some point.
No?
Right, we're gonna go backwards at some point, so I'm not always. No, it's fine. Hold on a quick second. I've got a stream issue I've got to resolve real quick because that's not.
Well, then let's carry on. Paroxysm, Elite Dangerous, Odyssey, yes or no?
Tentative yes from me as far as Odyssey goes as a whole.
All right, tentative. All right, fair enough. A Spatula.
Yes.
Just right.
That. Yes.
All right. From yours truly, I already answered the question on my end, and that's no. And I'll get into detail probably later, but for now, soundbite there. So Exegius, yes or no?
Yeah, and so for me, I'm going to answer twice. I'm going to break my own little simple answer and break it twice. I'm going to answer it as an elite fan and not an elite fan. An elite fan, yes. I think it's yes. For me, as an elite fan, it's yes. As a new person to the game, hard no. Right? Again, just Odyssey, right? I'll talk more about the whole package and everything later. But yeah, I have to say, if you're new to the game and not playing it yet, certainly not yet. Again, if you're only talking about Odyssey gameplay, but for an elite fan, you've got 1,000 hours. Yes, absolutely. So, all right. Should we go from there?
Well, yeah. Basically, then furthering that question, let's go with Spatula this time. Going backwards, or maybe better not let me rant. So, Spatula and rest of you guys, why yes?
Why yes? Well, okay. I think you have to look at this from the perspective that so I guess what Exy said there was interesting. There is like dividing it into like elite fans versus like new players. And I would argue that even if a new player picked up Elite Dangerous before Odyssey or before Horizons, it's still a pretty deep game to get into. It's a pretty hard game to get into if you're not like a fan of like this type of, space sim, space trucker sort of game, right? So does Odyssey really change that? I think it just adds a layer of complexity, but it was already a pretty complex game to begin with. Like if you were going to get into Elite Dangerous, you'll get into Odyssey altogether fine. Now look at Odyssey, and yeah, it's bugged. Yeah, there's some design decisions that I question. Yeah, there's some things that I don't like. But overall, when you look back to the original promise that Space Legs would eventually come into the game, just think back a year. And we didn't know that Space Legs were even being worked on. And now they're here. And yes, they may be a little buggy, but so was Horizons at first. So was Elite at first, right? It will continue to evolve. And at least have faith that, they're going to continue iterating. They're going to keep going with it. What we have so far may be the MVP, but it's a pretty good MVP, right? It's given
MVP?
me most of
MVP
what I wanted. Minimum viable product.
Okay,
right?
okay. Yeah, thank you. Follow you.
Right? It's not most valuable.
I got you.
But my point is that, it's like they've put it out, they've given us the Space Legs, they've given us the first taste of the new direction, of the next level that we're going to. And I think it's pretty good, right? I think it's at least headed in the right direction. And that's all I needed from this release. I had set my expectations very low, considering, how Horizons and specifically Beyond went. And I think given, comparing this to, say, the launch of Fleet Carriers, there's a lot more to dive into. There's a lot more appeal for different types of player styles than there was from any other previous release since Horizons. So that's why I say yes. It is still a conditional yes. There is still work to be done. We've only just started this journey, but I think we're going the right way.
All right then, Peroxim. Why tentative yes?
Because there's a lot that needs to be improved on before I'm going to give it a solid yes. I see the potential in everything that Frontier has done, but there's a lot of... I want to say, as usual, the execution doesn't necessarily live up to what I was hoping for. Which, that tends to be kind of common with Frontier. Their initial release for things is not all that great. But then usually over time, they fix a lot of the minor issues and things like that bug the ever-living crap out of me. So, I'm going to give it a tentative yes because there is great potential here, but it very much depends on a lot of the issues with Odyssey. Not just with bugs, but with, some quality of life things. Like, I'll bring up the engineering. Like, the engineering with all of the ground-based stuff feels like we took a step back to, 2017, when engineering was still shit back then. These days, it's very jarring going in between, the engineering we have for the ships and the way it works to, what we have in Odyssey. And then there's UI complaints, just a lot of things like that would make quality of life so much better. And that's kind of what, I want to see improve before I'll give it a solid yes.
All right, and then Exigeous. Answer your question. Double-edged thingy.
Can I go last this time, Yamiks?
Okay.
You want to go next?
Fair
Do you
enough. No problem. No problem. So, to answer my own answer to, or rather expand on the answer as to why I would say no for Odyssey is, just like with any other, not content, but product, because this is a product, right? But it has basically been released not ready. It's broken, basically. You can see that constantly when you're trying to just play around. There are unfinished features, it feels like, or missing information, and so on and so forth. Basically, the level of quality of this particular release has been a massive disappointment just on the product's own merits, as any product would be, expected to be. And for me, examining further as to why it was pushed out the door, just sort of comes down to the fact that most likely, sure, this is generally speaking unproven clearly, but it's the best answer we can find, and that is to meet some sort of a corporate fiscal date rather than just, oops, we didn't know it wasn't, or it wasn't tested. My prevailing sort of theory is that it was pushed out knowingly unready, and frankly speaking, it's just on the product's own merits, as I said, not acceptable, and we should be asking proper, both accountability as well as the, result of the product in of itself. Gameplay-wise, it basically lacks anything particularly attracting for outside people. And for that is, those that haven't played Elite at all, right? Reaching for that new market with the FPS gameplay, it's far too simple and far too casual to be actually any sort of a interesting draw. And of course, there are other issues. But for those that are inside, Elite Dangerous fans, well, basically, you can look at the planets themselves, and you can literally just insert the meme of how they have massacred my boy. That thing, essentially, with the planets themselves. And that is also going into that whole thing about it wasn't ready properly to, be released, and it was pushed out with literally bare minimum effort. Again, we don't have canyons, we don't have any really interesting hills. There are noticeable patterns on the planets, basically making them rather bog standard and frankly lesser than what Horizons had. Yes, there are obviously the graphical improvements, but even those are, questionable at times. So yeah, and of course, when you're going deeper into features themselves, you start to wonder why was this made? Like, for example, UI, in my opinion, but that'll be basically my sort of quick analysis. So there you go. That's why I give it a no. Exegius?
Yeah. So I think I don't disagree with anything that's been said at all, right? I think you guys have nailed a lot of great points. I think for me, when you think about evaluating something, right, you have to decide what's the yardstick by which you're measuring, right? Like, what is the objective way to measure it, right? And so when I look at Odyssey, I think there's two important things that very much affect my opinion of it. And the first one is the price. It's $40, right? This is not a $10 or $20. We throw names like DLC and expansion, all that, whatever it is. This is not a $10 or $20 DLC expansion, whatever you want to call that, right? It's $40, right? This is AAA pricing territory. Okay, so I didn't play The Witcher 3. I know it is incredibly highly regarded. I know that the Blood and Wine expansion was incredibly highly regarded, incredibly highly reviewed, tons of content. Okay, that was $20. All right. So when we measure it by that $40, now also let me just very quickly make clear about the cost side of things, right? If I look at the fact that for me personally, I bought, the main game at full price, let's just say I did, $60 way back in the day. How much was the Horizons expansion? Was it 40?
Horizons was also $60 at launch, but it was quickly discounted to 30.
How quickly? Like weeks or months?
I don't remember exactly.
Okay, fair enough. So let's just say full price. Let's just say full price, right? So that's $120, and with Odyssey, that's $160, right? The roughly 7,000 hours I have in my main account, oh my God, have I gotten my money's worth? So that's not really what this is about for me, okay? But it is about, so it's much more about what's in it, because a lot of Elite, a lot of our high play times is very replayable, right? So anyway, so I think when you measure it by that $40, that's number one. And number two, we all know this is beta, right? We all know this is absolutely unreleased or unready to be released. You're absolutely right, Yamiks. You fucking nailed it. My opinion too is that it was because they had to rush something out because their financial year end was yesterday. Okay, so or maybe it's Monday. Anyway, they had to get it out for that reason, and so they named it Release. Right? This is not a beta. This is not an alpha that, by the way, we actually paid for, some people, right?
Deluxe version of that, mind you.
Right, yeah. So this is a $40 company saying, pay us $40 for this. It is ready to go. It is done. Here you go. And I don't think anybody would argue that it is. And so for the other thing, to be clear, I've said this a lot, I don't get tweaked by the bugs at all. Okay, to a degree, right? A minute ago, for some reason, I'm guessing it's because I'm streaming, because this has not been my experience. My frame rate was like 17 walking around a station. And normally I'm in the upper 30s at 4K Ultra on a 2080 Ti. I should be, the performance is terrible.
Yeah, you should be getting about the same as I do, which is about 80.
Yep. And you're playing at 4K?
No, 4K don't know, but
yeah, exactly. So I'm at 4K, right? At 4K pixels anyway. So that's not that's not good, but it's at least playable and acceptable for me. So that's not been a problem. I've crashed a lot, right? All of that is unacceptable, but it's expected, sadly, in the world that we live in. It's just how it is. It is a massive code base. That doesn't bother. As long as it's getting resolved quickly, I think the first big patch was pretty quick. I gotta say, the patch notes at least were really extensive. I thought that was great. The performance stuff is the one that's going to take a while. Obviously, the longer that goes, the less acceptable it becomes, right? So when you measure by those two things, I can't say yes. I mean, I don't know how you objectively do say, yes, this is good. Yes, you should buy it. Yes, it's ready to go. But I'm having a shit ton of fun with it. I mean, that's the weird thing, right? And maybe that's why I started this with, if you're an elite player, I feel like it's a yes. And if you're not, right now, it has to be a no for everything I just said. But it's been a long time since I was excited to sit down and just play Elite, and that's how I've been the last week. And so have a number of friends that I play with. So it's this weird dichotomy for me.
Well, all right then. Interesting.
And I've got some other specifics that I think we can
we'll probably get into.
I don't want to monopolize. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Well, I did mark it that. Well, personally, I take an issue with the whole concept of I've spent X amount of hours in this game and it makes it worth it, because
that's not what I'm saying. But I hear
poor.
No, you're right. But I hear the argument a lot about when you talk about price that, well, oh my God, well, how many hours have you gotten out of it? So I just want to acknowledge that. That's all I'm doing with that, Yamiks, because you're right. Right, time does not make for gameplay, but. So again, that's why I just said that about cost, because some people do factor that in, right? There's not $40 worth of content in this for anybody, right? But the time issue isn't an issue for me, right? Because I'm going to get a lot of time out of it.
All right then. Well, I suppose we can carry on to a small little question then, just sort of continuing on that I wrote down. So let's go with the biggest draw and the biggest shortcoming. Just for the fun of it, I suppose it's worth mentioning both the good and the bad. And yes, I know that for me that's extremely uncharacteristic, even though that maybe not so much. But regardless, hey. I have to sometimes, prove that I am.
Sure.
But on a serious note, though,
you got to feign being unbiased, right?
Oh yeah. Of course, I cause upset, and that's only. But anyways, all right, carry on then. Right, so. Well, we can go backwards now again. So, Exigius, if you want to start, or you want to pass a baton to...
No.
No? Okay, well,
go ahead.
The biggest draw?
First quick.
Let's start with the positive.
Biggest draw.
Biggest positive.
Biggest positive. Let me think about that for a second, since you put me right on the spot. Well, I mean, the biggest positive is, and this is very esoteric, and I guess you're asking a more specific question, is I'm excited to play again, right? Like I genuinely keep having fun with this. Biggest actual gameplay draw, the thing that surprised. Okay, so I think
the thing that causes you to enjoy it, apparently.
Yeah. Anybody that's known me for any length of time knows I've always been very anti-space legs, right? It's not what I've wanted ever.
Okay.
I've always been against it, right? Well. What I was stunned to find is what I really enjoy about it is the stealth gameplay. So I love stealth shooters. I've always loved shooters, right? I mean, I'm old school, literally started with Doom, right? So I've always loved shooters.
Shooter and Doom somehow doesn't just go together. But okay,
well, no, the original shooter. No, the original Doom from back in the 90s, right?
That wasn't the stealth
1996 or whatever.
But again, Doom is a shooter, not a stealth shooter. Yeah, sorry.
Carry on.
I wasn't trying to say Doom's a stealth shooter. It is not. Right. Anyway, so I've always liked stealth shooters, and so I'm really loving the stealth aspect of it. Just about anything I do at a settlement, even if I don't have to be stealth, I do it stealth. I don't like taking the missions where you're either non-violent or can't be detected, because I like to be able to go hot. I've done things I'll go to take some sort of heist mission, and I'll get busted. I'll get under fire. I'll run back to my ship. I'm flying an Imperial Eagle a lot. Jump in the Eagle, just hover right above the base, blast the fuck out of everybody with missiles. And by the way, if you have not seen a Thargoid, but an AX flak launcher hit the ground, it is a nuclear fucking explosion. I'll later on in the stream, I'll try to set one up to show on my stream. If you guys haven't seen it, it is incredible how good it looks. And so I nuke everybody. I land, I get back out, I drive in, I get out, I walk in. I mean, just that whole experience. I gotta say, I wasn't expecting to really enjoy that and get it, and I really do. My biggest bummer, if we're just quickly about that, is no VR. right? That does hurt this a lot because Elite
there is technically
Yeah.
VR, you know.
Well, and maybe we'll talk about that later. I won't
Fair
touch
enough.
on that right now because yes, it's there. It's better than I expected, but it's also disappointing at the same time, right? So,
All
and
right,
just
then.
the last thing I'm going to say, just randomly quickly, because I actually haven't showed this on stream yet. I'm at quote unquote my station. So for those that don't know, Frontier was nice enough to let me name a station, and I just landed here. So.
Way to brag, buddy.
Well, as I started saying it, I realized, holy shit, that's the douchiest thing I ever fucking said. So I'm
Well, they let me go back in time, and I named Earth. They let me go back in time and name Earth.
Awesome,
So
dude.
I got that.
Awesome. I thought you named that kit. I thought you named that cooking utensil they used to use a long time ago.
That too. That wasn't Frontier though.
Bad
That was
show.
the kitchen company.
Ah, gotcha. And yeah, I don't know. My frame rate's like 18 all of a sudden on planets, and it was not this when I was streaming. It's a real bummer that it's this low right now. So anyway, so yeah, that's the thing that really I'm enjoying. I find it highly immersive, right? That they have really truly gone. They said millimeter. I think that's silly, but like meter to galactic, and I think I feel it, right? And I think they did a good job with that.
Well, all right then. So, not to give you too much time to speak, let's go with the next
What do you
positive.
got, Proxim? Sorry.
Yeah, Peroxim. Come on, what's your biggest draw?
Biggest draw for me, I'm gonna have to agree with Exy that the sense of scale here is one of the biggest things for me now. Because before, we could get out and drive around on planets, but the ships never felt. Unless you were playing in VR, the ships never felt truly massive. Now, when you get out and you're on foot and you look at your damn ship and you realize that the engine bells and stuff are literally bigger than your head, and you can fit an entire person or 3 inside of the cutter's engines, like the scale is incredible. And for me, that it adds a whole new level to things that just wasn't there before. I feel more in touch in a way with Elite and its entire galaxy than I ever did before, and that's saying something because before, like, people were fairly immersed in a lot of ways, but this I think has kind of really brought it to a whole new level. And then you couple that with just some of the details that are in these new ground stations and things like that, and it's just it's over the top. I love it. I really do.
Well, fair enough. Spatula, your biggest draw?
Who, me? Oh,
Yes,
biggest draw.
you.
Well, I think it actually might be good to also divide that biggest draw into those two camps of, people that have been longtime Elite dangerous people. For me, like I was getting to the point where I wasn't really playing the game for fun anymore. I was, using it as a filmmaking tool. And in between shooting, I wasn't really actually like going out and doing missions or doing anything that was normal in that game. And now I am, and I feel like it's kind of reinvigorated my hope in the future of the game, the continuity of the game, that the development team will continue to make the game better and to improve it. And now there's a lot more new and exciting things to explore, to see a Thargoid site on foot, or to walk around in a city, or try and scale a building. All that's been really fun. So I think, like, for the returning players and the longtime players, it is just getting that next level of depth, that going from that kilometer to that meter scale. Seeing everything with kind of new eyes, new atmospheres and whatnot. And then just sort of having a little faith restored that, like, okay, they gave us space legs. We're probably going to get ship interiors at some point. We're probably going to get those mineable gas giants. There was a point where maybe a year ago, I didn't believe that any of that would ever come out, or if it did, it would be horribly executed, right? And, say what you will about the launch on this. I may think it's more of a marketing issue, which I assume we'll get to later in the stream. But I think also for like just in terms of the greatest new feature, I think the on-foot mission types, like just the fact that there is a variety, right? And I don't think it's fully realized, but I like what Exy said about liking the stealth missions. I also really like the idea of like sneaking around and sort of playing that sort of stealth James Bond infiltrator unit. But that it could break out into combat, or you could take a combat mission, or go just turn on settlements, or explore a bin in settlements. Like, I think there's a lot of different types of like playstyle varieties baked into it. So it kind of makes it so that there's, different strokes for different folks, right? Like there's a lot of different types of people that will be able to get enjoyment out of the new features. They didn't specialize only in combat or only in exploration. I may feel that certain areas like exploration, as an example, hasn't got as much attention again as maybe say the combat side of things and the settlement exploration. But going back to that first point is, and what I think the longtime players will be feeling is like, okay, like it's back. Galnet is making articles. Things are happening. The story can progress. There's no more like, yeah, we have 3 years and 100 people working on this thing. Like it's out and we're live updating it. And things are finally ready to move forward. We're probably going to see new Thargoid things in maybe a month, maybe 6 months. Who knows? We're probably going to get new ships. I never watched the leak videos, but I've seen the titles of them. And so I think really for me, the biggest win of this for the old players is having that sense and that hope of the next level and seeing the next level realize. And for the new players, I think it's just like, again, coming into a world where really, the whole tagline of the original Elite was blaze your own trail. And you truly, really can now. You don't even have to have a spaceship. You can just taxi around. No big deal. Just tip your Uber driver. That's what I got.
Okay, I'm trying to not be sarcastic, but okay. Carry on.
No, I mean, I think that's well said, Spat. I think there's, a few things in there that maybe I would disagree with a little bit, but I think for the most part, you're spot on.
Well, I'm glad. If we didn't have disagreement, then it's not going to be fun.
But as we're talking about the positives, right? And I think it is important to what we're doing, to acknowledge those, right? We do complain a lot. Complain's the wrong word. We do give critical feedback a lot. I think that's very important. But, giving praise when they get it right, I think is important. And I think they've, getting a lot right.
Believe me, and I'm not praising everything. I think.
No.
Get to that, Spatula. Trust me, I'm itching.
Yamiks, what do you got?
Right, so since I'm being literally at gunpoint forced by myself to be positive without being sarcastic or negative,
if
right?
there's nothing positive, don't make it up.
There is.
You do you, Yamiks. You do you.
Right. I'll mention a couple of things, but not just yet on the highest one before those, because good work needs to be recognized as well. So the new, at least as broken as it is, the new tutorial is something I wanted more before when they did the new tutorial for September update, right? I did say that I wanted basically more of that voiced stuff and sort of extremely hand-holdy thing, and we got more of that on Spacelags, which is a pure, just positive thing that I had on the first day. Literally, just I agree. Actually
it's fantastic.
That's great.
I should have said something about that because that tutorial is top notch.
So
it really is. Yeah.
No, it's not top notch, but it's something more.
It's very good. It's very good.
Also,
right.
I wouldn't
the
say
tutorial
that, but okay. Anyways, carry on then. Right. So, what for me as a creator is the biggest draw, right? Is the ability to basically use, the camera, camera visuals, as well as, your guy essentially to film things. And now, because especially with a guy, when you have your Spacelags man out, you're able to actually go closer up to the ships and film the detail of it closer without that stupid, disgusting piece of shit collision box obscuring your view, or rather blocking your ability to go closer to something, unless it's a small ship. I know, right? Anyways,
I'm so triggered.
I know.
Filmmaker PTSD.
I know. I've filmed all the ships. I know that Beluga is the most disgusting ship to film, as a matter of fact. Anyways, carrying on then. Right. So basically, the camera is, in that sense, adding a little bit of extra stuff, or rather, not the camera, but the particular legs version of it. Adding that ability. However, overall ability to film a bit more brighter, more colorful scenes due to, again, atmospheric lighting and whatnot else. Whatever comes, through atmospheres, essentially, is a really nice addition, because normally if you wanted, a colorful scene, you couldn't really get it in the bubble. Oftentimes you would have a big black spot, essentially, for the sky, and, the ground would be depending on the star, that. Now, with the, generally speaking, the whatever atmosphere there is, or how little there is, if you will, it makes the scenes more well, viewable. Plus, of course, the added textures, blah blah blah, adds for a bit more closer and potentially more prettier filming when it's up close. So that is wonderful addition. However, not all is good, but that's generally speaking, that's an improvement regardless. So. As a creator, I'm happy that I don't need to go to the center of the galaxy to get some bright and pretty looks or some nebula, if you will. So yeah, that's very nice, and so on and so forth. So there you go. So that's my answer. I guess it's time to basically take a dump. Yeah, we can. Well, since I did talk about the thing again, I suppose Exigius, if you want to take the floor here on the biggest shortcoming, or you want to pass it up?
No, I think I can go first.
All right then.
I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I was going to interject with that since I went first after everybody talked around. I mean, I guess not. We hit the major.
You got some positive, let's go.
Well, one last positive I'll say is while it is not 2021, triple A title pretty. It's very pretty, right? I'm really happy with a lot of the way things look. Like, I think some of the new atmospheres are very pretty. The view I'm looking at right now is not one of the prettiest, but it's very pretty. I've seen some just incredible blood red skies, some purple and blue ones, right? And so I think pointing out, I don't think any of us mentioned that, right? UI problems with maps and stuff. I'm not talking about UI here, by the way. I'm talking about just simply graphics, right? I think the new explosions are great. I think there's a lot of pretty stuff there that we probably didn't mention and should.
Oh yeah, absolutely, because a lot of the new visuals are so much better
very nice.
than they were.
Yeah. I think you could argue that a lot of them, that maybe if we're going to start doing the Star Citizen compares, that Star Citizen is prettier in some ways, right? But not so dramatically. I mean, yeah, it's got much better environments on the planets, right? So I'm more talking about in space. Yeah, planetary textures and like the life form stuff, I think is actually pretty not great, but just space stuff, again, atmospheres, that new environments I think is great. We'll talk about planets, I'm sure, in a little bit. As far as biggest disappointment for me, it's simple. It's the complete and utter lack of multiplayer content. And this is one of those polls that I did where I was really surprised. I did one yesterday, Ant did one today, that was essentially boiled down to, I wanted to determine, are multiplayer players more or less happy with Odyssey than single player players? And in that poll, mine showed that 30% play multiplayer and 70% play alone, is the way I worded it. Ants was 20% play socially and 80% play alone. And honestly, that shocked me, right? Because to me, Elite is absolutely a social game. I rarely play Elite solo. If I'm grinding something, maybe, right? So in that, I then was like, well, I guess that's why social players got such a kick in the teeth with it. Instancing is atrocious. It's so much worse than it used to be, right? There's no on-foot wing or team missions, and supposedly they're coming, they said on stream. Don't understand why they're not here already. And not only that, but you're actively penalized for doing things together. So many missions can't complete if there's another person there, or if they happen to do one piece of the mission, or they get the kill and you don't. And, silly things like that, down to, and I know Elite's always been this way with ships, but I feel like on foot is fundamentally different. I walk over and pick up a material, for engineering, all the little doodads, right? It's gone. You can't. Every other shooter game I've ever played, and maybe there's others that don't, but that I've ever played that had mats like that, everyone could pick it up. So the just complete, again, not only lack of things for social players to do, but actively punishing you for trying to do it. That's what kills me the most. It really, really, it's almost become a single player game for me. That's when I'm having fun, or we'll all play single player missions just chatting together. And that's a huge disappointment.
Well, all right then. Nothing else to add?
I mean, that's my main, right? No.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, there's lots of other things, right? But if I think of a very specific thing to me, without going on forever, right? That's my primary. Everything comes back to that, right? I've tried to have 6 or 7 of us get into a conflict zone together. The most we can instance is 3.
The fucking wings,
right? I mean, I can't get more than 3 ever, right? And anything that's socially based, anything like that, I just, it's awful. right? It's so much worse in a
I
lot of
tried
ways
filming
than
in a
Horizons
wing,
was.
or as it's called, teams, and boy, did it take us forever to instance with each other. So anyways, yeah, right. Peroxim then, your biggest shortcoming for Odyssey.
Biggest shortcoming, it's mostly annoyances. Certain things that are in the release that should not have ever made it to the release. Like, my chat was just asking me, I was coming out of Plater's Tyranny, and I kept running into things that were invisible on my way out of the station. And that's because the game thinks that there's an asteroid belt in the way that doesn't actually exist. You can see the asteroids on the scanner, but not visually. And they're in a place that's 60 kilometers above where the asteroid belt actually is. That was in the alpha, and it somehow made it to the release of the game. That should never have been a thing. And just like certain things like that, and that's really the main detractors for me. It's just things like that. Like the gameplay itself, I don't really take issue with it. Like the AI, they're gonna gradually improve that over time. I can't really hold that against Frontier because they've never done a first-person shooter before, ever. This is their very first stab at something like that. Of course it's going to be janky and extremely weird. So I'm reserved, like, there are certain things like that I'm not going to hold against them at all just because they have zero experience at it. So that's kind of where I'm at with things. Is it goes back to quality of life that I talked about earlier. A lot of quality of life things, bug fixes and things like that. I run into major bugs? No, not really.
I gotta jump in with you here, Peroxim, and agree totally. I've never understood. There are so many simple quality of life things over the years that could be added, right? Sorting of things. I mean, just all kinds of little shit like that it's just so hard to fathom that this far in, we've never, that just the most. I imagine if tomorrow was your first day at Frontier, the list of simple shit that you would have, right? That you would want them to change or add that would take next to zero time. And I could go through the list, but I don't think I have to because nobody gets it. I mean, nobody would argue that, right? And just quickly, one I got to throw in, I'm sorry, I'll let you talk about it, is the maps. The maps, right? The UI, right? That's the other that just, I use bookmarks. I use bookmarks and the galaxy map and plotting like that a lot. I just did the test again. In Horizons, I mean, I'm not in Horizons, I did this earlier, to plot directly to a carrier, to a bookmark to my carrier, which you cannot have in Beyond. You cannot bookmark a carrier forever. You can't plot directly to it. But anyway, it's 5 inputs. So open the map, over, click, right? That's what it takes to plot it. I just counted in Horizon or Odyssey, 15 inputs. Because you have to go to the system and zoom into the system first and then find it and click it. There's no bookmark that will take you directly to a station or a carrier directly, right? That's the problem with maps, guys. So anyway, I've had this argument with a few people on Twitter who weren't understanding. When we say UI, I think it looks fine. I have no problem with the look of it.
I think we got the point, Exegius.
Yeah, sorry, next.
I'm moderating, haha. Anyways, carry on, Peroxim, to finish your thought.
But yeah, just to kind of build on what he was saying, though, there really is a lot of things like that should not really have made it to the release, or they should at least be telling us, okay, yes, we have heard specific feedback about this. We are working on, bringing some of the old functionality back. That I would feel a lot better about, some of these things if we knew precisely what was going on. Now, granted, there's supposed to be bugger feature, right? That would be nice to know. And then, there is, they are talking about releasing that roadmap here in a few days from now, to give us an idea of what to expect.
I hadn't heard that. Source of that, Proxim?
It was a post that David Braben put in the forums not that long ago, a couple of days ago.
Yes.
I don't remember it mentioning a roadmap, but okay.
There was a roadmap in there. I think he said June 4th.
Yeah, they are. For the context, essentially, Frontier
what do they
Developments
call
did
roads
say.
in Britain?
walking pavement thingamajig. Hey, Bobby, something. Anyways,
driveways. Or
for the context, essentially, developers Fronted Developments essentially came out saying that they will be releasing, during Braben's apology letter number 2, that they would be releasing a roadmap. He didn't say for what period of time, but we are assuming for the until the console release for the things they will be changing, and that will be coming on the 4th of June. So carry on.
Right. And by the way, guys, for us, I'm putting the exact quote, if you care about it, in the Discord chat about the roadmap. I just went.
Our plan is to publish a roadmap by the 4th June. So plan. Okay. As we continue to push forward addressing issues, including giving some details and specific improvements, building upon the fixes the dev team have already made. David Braben, ladies and gentlemen. Carry on, Peroxam, if you have anything else. No? Okay, well...
That's really about it.
Spatula,
yeah.
your biggest drawback.
All right, so I guess, like, how do I frame this, I guess? Like, to me, the biggest drawback is not even in-game. It's kind of the way that it was positioned and the expectations that kind of came with it. Like, if I had to really think about this, it's like, well, considering what we're playing is a beta, which came out, a couple weeks after the alpha, which itself was a very, short and bizarre alpha in the sense that, like, oh yeah, we've done all this development behind the scenes, but that's a separate branch, and we're letting you see like this earlier branch. The expectations were all over the place to the point where if this were called a beta, and they just released it in the state saying, hey, it's going to be a beta. Again, we know that there's stuff coming. Odyssey feels a little bit bare bones beyond the sort of foundational space legs and simple, activities that we can do. I think the biggest flaw, the biggest drawback was just how they went about marketing and releasing the actual product, right? I don't think the product itself is inherently bad. I think it's still raw. It's still going to be refined. And I think they did a much better job in not Odyssey. What's the one that came before it? Not Beyond. Horizons. I think they did a much better job at setting the expectation and saying, hey, we're going to release it at first. It's going to kind of be just there. And then as we go, we're going to have these big releases. And in between those, we'll have little releases. And that's kind of what we're seeing so far with Odyssey. We know there's first patches that are going to come out. I'm sure there'll be some Galnet article about some new ship that they're developing against the Thargoid threat. And 3 months from now, we'll probably have, when No Man's Sky first came out, it was received terribly and they kept iterating and iterating. And to me, it's like, well, you kind of, number one, you guys are not new, right? Like you've already done a lot of releases of different iterations of Elite, some paid expansions as well with Horizons. You've seen and learned from the lessons of like Star Citizen and No Man's Sky, or maybe you didn't, right? So to me, like, argue
that, but okay.
Well, I don't think they did learn much from them, or they kind of decided, well, we're going to go our own way, or maybe there was another need. Like maybe there were fiscal reasons they had to call it a release, right? But that didn't mean that they couldn't set the expectations differently, right? And I don't know if it was like, a conflict between different goals. I can't really speculate on the matter. All I can say is that, as a consumer, someone who bought it, look, I would have bought it no matter what, right? This is my favorite game, right? And I'm sure a lot of other people out there feel that same way. A lot of the things that I have issue with, they're like, they're nitpicks, right? Like in exploration, I didn't like that stupid scanner. They took it out. That's great. But I still don't like the fact that I have to scan 3 distinct biological samples, which just results in me running around the ground for 15 more minutes than I probably need to. A lot of those are maybe design flaws that, they would work out with beta feedback, which they're going to get a lot of. It's just unfortunate to see that like the reviews are tanking. They're at like 30-something% on Steam because people are getting the wrong expectation. And this could have been avoided with the right communication. So to me, the biggest downfall is not there's a lot to nitpick in the game, but the biggest overall problem is just like the release strategy and communication around it.
Can I ask a question to that, Spatula, to clarify for me? Because I'm not necessarily following a little bit, or I want to see what you mean exactly. When you say they, maybe they didn't, damn, you said it just a second ago, it was like, it basically something that it's getting negative reviews because of not setting it, something to that effect. Kind of clarify for me what you mean, if you don't mind.
As in they went and said, hey, this is a full release, and people are reviewing it.
By calling it release and selling it for $40. Is that basically what you're saying?
Yes. And so therefore people are reviewing it on the basis that it is a full release. This is the final game. Everyone has been playing for a while. I think most people understand this is not the end. Right? This is just the beginning.
I got
for
you.
most
But let me
people-
ask a question. Do you
Mhm.
think it is unfair to review it negatively right now
Hell no.
for that
No,
reason? Okay.
I think they're
Okay, so
getting
you
what
think it
I think-
deserves? Okay.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to clarify. Thank you.
I'm saying that they reap what they sow, right? And by
Yeah,
calling
yeah,
it full
exactly.
release, they're getting all the articles from all the different reviewers saying, "Oh, this is a pretty unspectacular release," right? Which is a lot of the stuff that was said about No Man's Sky. And in No Man's Sky, they also kind of pushed that out early, probably to satisfy some console guideline or shareholder obligation, blah 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 blah, and they kind of got the brunt of what they deserved. But No Man's Sky recovered, and people look at it very positively now. And I think, given time, people's perceptions will change on Elite depending on what happens next, right?
Yep.
But because of that perception, I think it's going to hurt their initial sales. And look, I do kind of agree that they deserve it, right, for doing that.
Yeah, you got to have some thoughts on that.
Boy, where to start?
I have a real quick thought. The game just crashed on me when I tried to jump from a planetary surface. Big move.
I've had a lot of crashes.
As in crash to desktop or just simply server crash?
Crash to desktop.
Ooh. All right then. Right, so where to start? Right, I did say that in my biggest, the reason why I say no to Elite Dangerous essentially is that, well, basically this is a forced release by the upper management of the company. That is, well, basically what has happened. The game was not ready. Yeah. Essentially, they pushed it out the door knowing it was not ready. Now, that is one thing already. So the thing is, first of all, that's a business decision that is just, frankly speaking, a disgusting move for, well, what I considered, a piece of potential art, as I do consider games, something that has a cultural impact and so on and so forth. Essentially, that sort of, first of all, that fucked up or fucked over all the developers that worked hard on it. Right. The only thing that it didn't fuck up is potentially the shareholders or, their desires or whatever upper management, had it, essentially. So right now, essentially, we have a shit release that runs really shitty. And unfortunately, eventually, even like it or not, everyone's gonna just default to blaming coders, the low-level coder or server guy or artist or, whatever, for basically a decision that was made, against potentially their will. And given enough time, they could have developed or delivered a proper quality, content, even if, like, let's say someone like me wouldn't agree with the decisions made, and there are plenty of those. However, I still had, a trust into coder segment of the game to make it playable in, comparable performance, which was literally one of the questions in Q&As that they did before alpha. There was a question, will, something like, I'm paraphrasing, will Odyssey run just as smoothly or with the same frame rate as Horizons? And developers said that, with the same settings, you should be running the same frame rates, give or take, right?
So let me ask you a question about that, Yamiks. Okay, because I saw your video or comment about basically, 30 frames per second low is whatever your title was, right?
Yeah,
so
it was recommended specs equals 30 frames a second, yes.
Right. So what I didn't necessarily feel like was fair about that is that I feel like we can't evaluate it yet, because I feel like it is so buggy right now that I felt like that was a little bit premature to say that, they are saying this is acceptable, because I unless I've missed something, I don't think Frontier's saying the performance everybody's getting right now is acceptable. If they are, it's absolute horseshit, right? Because it's awful right now.
By no means I ever said that they thought that it was acceptable, but carry on.
Okay. So then maybe I misunderstood something, right? Then that's fair. All right.
Right. So to explain what Exegius is saying here, right? Essentially, I have an RX 580 8GB version graphics card in my VR rig, and that is the same graphics card which is a recommended spec quality for the game as they set out for the recommended specs. So
that's not low, that's recommended.
That is a recommended, yes.
Yeah,
and I tested, and basically showcased that it is running subpar. And yeah, it's inexcusable, frankly speaking. Now,
Well,
here's the
I mean,
thing, right?
agreed.
Essentially, all the excuses that are given to, well, basically, people are giving way too much ground to a company that, first of all, is multi-million, not billion, I think, multi-million dollar company that pushed out a product that they clearly knew was not ready just to meet, potentially, of course, arguably, a fiscal year nonsense. While they
Certainly
could have
seems that
easily
way.
delayed it.
Certainly seems that
That's
way.
the thing. It's a just fucking corporate decision, which is just disgusting. Now, there are other things as well that obviously because of this early release, we've noticed a lot, and Explorers are one of them. In fact, I've got a wonderful picture of one of their trailers sent to me, one of you, by one of you, I mean. So here's the planet from the trailer. Hold on, I'll just post to the rest of the guys. There you go, and that's the in-game current planet. Right, and this is not the only instance where essentially the planets have been downgraded and so on and so forth. But the thing is, I still had trust that essentially the actual developers, if given enough time, they could have delivered. Again, if not accepted by yours truly in an ideological sense, but at least the quality-wise, a product that would be worth that. That $40 mark. However, here's the thing, right? Generally speaking, right? Unlike Horizons, which was a season pass exploitative garbage, I can easily get into that later, but the point is it wasn't acceptable the way they delivered that one. This, on the other hand, is supposed to be, well, what I thought, in a way, a more honest, upfront delivery of product that was just everything, not counting obviously the story related stuff and blah 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 that is obviously usually delivered in piecemeal later down the line. Feature wise complete and performance wise done. This was not. Now then, of course, after we get past that biggest issue that is just quite literally lying to the consumers just to meet some fucking deadline on a goddamn corporation that can take a little bit of fucking loss in profits, if you will, right?
Well, let's actually let's
just to fuck over devs themselves.
Well, and so I think maybe it's not fair for us to keep saying that they did it because of a timeline, because we don't know that, but it doesn't matter why they did it. They did it. Right? It should not have been released in the state that it's in. It could have, to your point, is completely still valid. It absolutely could have been delayed. Right there, like
where's the
why this timeline? And it does feel like that timeline was financial, but we are speculating there. We should be fair about that. So that's all I'm.
That is 100% speculation.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and we shouldn't be stating it like it's fact, right? I just want to make that clear to everybody.
All right, fair. No, okay, fair enough then.
I want to be fair with my criticism, right? But it also doesn't matter why they did. They did.
Okay,
they released
let's say fair enough. Right. Let's say I am wrong on the whole fiscal year. They still released this.
Right.
In a very poor state, which means that there's either incompetence or malice still. And let's say that if we take out the malice out of it, the Hanlon's razor, right? This was incompetence, and very big incompetence in that case. So then, they really were incompetent enough to test their product and see the many issues before a release for again, I repeat, a fucking company that can afford both delaying and, actually testing properly the thing that they are releasing before release. It just doesn't strike quite true. Again, I don't think they're exactly that incompetent. So we're kind of going in circles. If it's not incompetence, it's malice. If it's not malice, it's incompetence.
Well, and no, I think
either which way,
it's incompetence in the upper management, assuming, because that's
absolutely. The result is upper management is absolutely at the fault of this thing. But
the comment that I think I've said a few times, that I actually feel bad for some of the rank and file developers there who this isn't their fault, right? But potentially, we say the devs and things like that, right? So, I don't necessarily think though, like, the on the ground troops, whatever you want to call that. I'm not trying to be, dismissive of anybody by saying it that way, right? But the just the devs working on the code of the game, I don't feel like they're at fault, right? I feel like the fault is whoever above said this has got to be out on this date and picked May 19th, right? What 2.5 weeks
we are
after
going in circles,
a weird
anyways,
alpha. I am
continuing
right.
on, right?
So yeah.
That is the biggest fault. But, well, will you allow me another little tidbit, mini rant there? Okie dokie. Right. So let's say that this was a finished product and, we didn't see the performance and technical issues and only to an acceptable level. Let's say this was done, right? Even then, you see constant, well, again, for those features that have been delivered, either downgrades or rather malicious development, frankly. And I'm referring specifically here to engineering and UI, generally speaking. Incompetence on the UI and malicious design on engineering. Because with engineering, they're literally taking old first engineering principles, very limited space in your pockets, if you will, for the materials, and even then on top screwing with extra necessity to go back to your ship after your suit is full, rather than when you had SRV you could collect that whole 1,000 limit, pocket, if you will. Then of course on top of it there's a massive requirement for upgrades, and of course there's on top of it, which is just even more stupid, while we have ability to remove upgrades from our ship modules and items, for SpaceLegs engineering we can't. So that's going an extra step, taking extra effort, or maybe just simply not putting it in, maybe, who knows. Just that thing that has been specifically implemented in, well, these upgraded features back in Horizons, and later down the line with the upgraded or changed engineering, improved, and it feels like they are going backwards with that design, and thus I call it malicious. Obviously because of the fucking massive amount of time that is required to just grind it. I've never been a fan of it. Now, as for the UI, I mean, fucking Jesus, Exegius did talk about the UI quite a lot. And it's
its own topic.
For example, such a simple thing. A button that I suggested back in the day in one of my small little videos, quality of life videos that I did, to put a minus sign, a removal button for bookmarks. Right? When you have a button for bookmarks, to add it, instead of it, once you have added it, put in an active button that would remove that very same bookmark. That now is gone. You can go back in Horizons and test it and see what I'm talking about. That button is gone. And now you add a bookmark, and to remove the fucking thing, well, you need to go to the bookmarks first, find the fucking bookmark in the list of nonsense and clicks that you have to do, and then you can remove it. Of course, there's also the whole idea of outfitting UI that is questionable, and let alone we're not even getting to the SpaceLegs-based UI. Radial bullshit that basically barely works with a mouse, as a matter of fact. There are two of them on top of it. So yeah, the UI has been, well, lack of better term, utterly butt-fucked. So yeah, that's...
And again, let's clarify when we say UI. I think it looks good. I have no problem with the way it looks. It's the functionality that's the problem.
Just because it's new doesn't mean that it's better.
Can I completely change my biggest gripe with the game?
Go for it then.
It's bartenders won't sell you drinks in this place, and that really bothers me. That's my biggest.
Okay, actually, I want to circle back to the planetary tech for just a brief moment.
Yes,
because there's the shot that Yamiks put up with what was
and that's
advertised
not the only one.
versus
There are
what
plenty
people are
on the Reddit. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the screenshot that I posted just after that, and it's up on my stream, so the people that are watching mine can actually see it. Is actually something that
I'm gonna bring your stream up. Keep it on your stream. I'm gonna bring yours up.
Yeah, go for it.
Streams.
So the shot on the right is actually something that Pro Rock found. He's in my stream chat right now. earlier today. So some of the things that were advertised, like the new ice tech, which by the way looks really good. You can see it in that shot.
I agree. The sparkling is kind of cool in it. Yeah.
So some of these planets that they have in the advertising, I honestly don't think they're that common, and that's why we haven't seen them. Because people were saying that the new ice tech, like all over the Discord, my Discord anyway, people were like, the new ice tech didn't make it in, wah.
It's the new planet tech, probably that's why. But
we're staring at it right now. I just don't think it's anywhere near as common as most as people would like it to be. So I think that's one of the problems we're running into, is that these exceptional examples of good-looking planets are probably more rare than Frontier has let on, and I think that's probably causing something of an issue as well.
Well, I also heard the good frame rates are at Hutton Orbital.
The free anacondas.
There's an element of false advertisement too, you realize, because again, the image, the comparison images of the same planet, and it's just not the same. It's so there is a level of that, and frankly speaking, I didn't think that they would be stooping so low. But again, considering that, arguably they pushed it out the door for whatever reason, it makes kind of sense.
For me,
they just simply didn't have the time to finish it.
The thing that's been interesting about the new planets for me, to talk about that, and then I think we were saying maybe we'll do our closing thoughts. So I think for me, the weird thing has been, I absolutely see the evidence. Like, if you guys haven't seen Black Maze's video on comparing the horizons, to Odyssey Planetary Tech, it's phenomenal, right? I mean, it's very detailed. And what it seems like it's coming down to is, if you're an explorer going out looking for really interesting stuff, it's just not there. The weird experience that I've had is, I've found some missions have sent me there, some stunning locations. I mean, a couple really deep canyons. Last night we found this. When I say deep canyons, like we're talking 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer deep, not the 20-kilometer deep, like Testicle Moon, and the really awesome canyons, right? But still,
Pomesh 2C,
Pomesh 2C. There's a moon. Yamiks knows it. I'll give you the address later. It's like about 700 light years out. I can
show it on screen as well.
Unbelievably, please do, Yamiks. It is incredible. It is my all-time favorite place in the entire game. It's literally beautiful. Covered in nothing but 20-kilometer deep. That's 12 miles deep ribbon canyon. So from orbit, it looks like a big wrinkly testicle. That's why I call it Testicle Moon. And so anyway, so there's nothing like that or Pomesh 2C, but I found a base the other day that was on an ice planet nestled in this little valley with these huge peaks that were probably 8,000 perspective wise, 10,000 feet above where I was staying. I mean, it was gorgeous. So it's been weird for me that, again, there's all these problems. And maybe I'll just make this my wrap up. There's all these problems, but I keep enjoying it. I keep coming back and wanting to play it, right? I keep having fun with it. And so that's why I'm so kind of mixed about this, right? As I said, $40, calling it release software. It's got to be a negative review for a non-elite player. Actually, there's one quick thing I want to say, price that I forgot. For a non-elite player, if you are coming to the game right now, the whole game, including Odyssey, is like $45 on Steam. Well, yeah, if I think of a brand new player and I think of Odyssey as a little $10 add-on, which depending on how you think the price of that, right? Maybe it is. The whole package for $45 is pretty fucking compelling. I think it's actually phenomenal, the amount of stuff that's there for that, right? But if you've gone along the way, just this for $40 is hard if you're not an elite player. If you are an elite player, it's going to be a yes. Just quickly, what were my notes? Make sure there's nothing else I forgot.
That's your closing?
Notes?
Yeah, that's my big stuff. I was taking notes, like as you guys were making points, right? I was just writing out the points you made, make sure I got, got the stuff. But yeah, so I think if you love Elite, you're playing it now and you haven't bought Odyssey, you're probably going to. Maybe give it a week or two till the bugs are fixed before you jump in and have a frustrating experience. But I think you're going to wind up with it pretty soon if you haven't. If you're brand new to Elite, well, if you're brand new to Elite and you're paying the $45, sure. If you're very new and it's a $45 upgrade, probably not.
So that's your
So
closing,
pretty.
I assume.
That's my closing. Yeah, there you
Okay,
go.
well,
and after stream, I'm going to jump over to my Discord. If you guys want to chat, I'd love to hear what you guys think. If folks want to jump over to my Discord, links and everything.
great self promo there,
my
buddy.
chats.
Yes,
hey man,
move on,
you told me
dude.
to do it pre-stream. You told me to do it pre-stream.
No, jump into
during
my
it, mate.
thing.
But anyways, carrying on then.
Sure.
Let's see. I mean, you kind of skipped me on the finishing list that you put
Yeah,
up
so go
there,
ahead,
but
go ahead. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
fuck it, I'll go last as always. So let's end on a very cheerful note with Yamiks. So next then is
Yeah, I'm about to be
Spatula?
composing a symphony of swear words.
Oh yes,
Spat, you want to go next?
Spatula. So
Sure. I guess, well, I don't know, closing it off, I think we covered a lot of bases. You know, I'm glad we didn't really nitpick on most of the specific things that are kind of the most off-putting. And I think that's a good thing because, look, at this point, you know, I'm bulking it up to it was released with poor expectations set around it, which is where most of the problems are coming from. They're perspective problems that will probably be ironed out. And 2 or 3 months from now, we'll look back and laugh at, you know, and compare Odyssey to, say, Beyond and go, well, you know, Odyssey was definitely a step above Beyond, which was sort of this barren free content make good for, you know, the things that they missed from Horizon that are still not in the game. But to me, it always boils down to this, is that Odyssey is that testament of the developer saying, look, even if we have to put it out in a state that's maybe not optimal, we still have worked towards the ultimate promise that we made in the beginning, right? We didn't know we would have Space Legs a year ago. Now we do. And I think that in and of itself is a huge, huge deal. And everything else just becomes, you know, sort of noise in the wash, right? And there will be a point where a year from now we look back and go, you know, wow, this game progressed and escalated very quickly. Do I have issues with it? Yeah, I don't like the bartender thing. I don't like the new material grind all that much. I'm a little bit picky about how I like this new exploration. I think everything just doesn't pay enough, like the missions and exploration. AstraZeneca or whatever the heck buys the genomes. Or sorry, is that a COVID vaccine company? I don't know. I get the two realities confused. But the point is, our universe just got a lot bigger, and there's a long list I could nitpick and a long list of things that I could say that I enjoy or see the huge potential in. Settlements, I'd like to see more variety. I don't understand why that wasn't a little bit more procedural. Like, it does feel, even after a couple of weeks, is like, oh, I've seen this settlement before on a different planet, right? Like, but hey, as far as I'm concerned, we're playing a beta, and that could be in the plan. And they go, oh yeah, we're gonna add 52 new settlement types every week for a year. That could be in the roadmap or whatever they're going to release, or maybe what they're going to release is going to be very big broad strokes and will be left in mystery as usual to speculate. But you know, I think overall, like, it's brought me back into it. I'm playing the game. I don't feel like I'm at that point where I'm like having to motivate myself to play. Like, I'm actually finding myself like going into like film footage for an episode, and then I find myself getting distracted because I want to do this mission or explore this settlement, or, you know, let's see what this guy looks like when he's got a plasma bolt up the side of his head. You know, and so that kind of, to me, has been like just this reinvigoration of this universe and this game, and diving in that next level deeper. And I'm very grateful that they put out Odyssey. I, you know, think that over time the sentiment will change. But I don't blame the people that are criticizing it, right? If I bought the game and got a poor frame rate experience and really couldn't play the game at all, I'd be pretty disappointed. On day one, when it loaded up and like I was getting server after server error, it was very frustrating, right? I didn't want to deal with that. But after a couple hot fixes, you know, I might get one crash in like a 2 or 3 hour session, and to me, that's fine, right? This isn't a game where you lose all your progress on a crash, except in, you know, I guess certain scenarios. But you know, there's nothing that's been devastating. It's not like my save got cleared. But yeah, so like overall, I think we just need to all be patient as players. You know, don't go ham on Frontier. Don't yell at their people. Just give them time to set it right, and I think we'll probably be okay in the end. But you know, if you don't like a certain type of, like, to me, like the exploration and plant life, it does not pay well enough for me to even bother doing it, other than for purposes of ranking. Maybe they'll change that down the line. But hey, instead, I'm going to do like the stealth missions or the reactor settlement missions and find other areas of the game that I do enjoy. And I think, like, if you think about it, well, there's a lot to do in this game now. They may be disappointed that, oh, there's only 10 mission types on foot now. Well, there's those, and then all the ship missions, and then, you know, there's the SRV type missions as well. There's a lot of different things that you can do, or just go visit Guardian sites, or just go do this. So, you know, do what you love in the game. Have patience, and I think it'll be okay in the end. That's my rant. And also subscribe and like to everyone's streams, people.
Well, that'll be the last thing, of course. So Peroxim, then, your thoughts on the your closing thoughts. Come on, tell us what you think.
My closing thoughts. I think Odyssey has a lot of potential. Like I said earlier, there's a lot of really great things about it, but it's kind of marred and buried underneath a lot of the quality of life and just certain little things that are really just driving me personally crazy. You know, I can't speak to everyone on this, but I have a really good example up on my stream right now. Earlier, when I was coming out of Plater's Tyranny, I was running into invisible asteroids. Well, it's a bug right now where you can actually see some of these asteroids are actually visible on my screen right now. And it's completely off axis from the actual asteroid belt. You know, things like that for me just drive me so bonkers.
So hold on a second. Are those asteroids that are supposed to be down in the ring, or are those that's not like an asteroid belt? You know what I'm saying? That's separate from the rings. That's just rendered up in space instead. Okay.
Yeah, they're rendered. Yeah, they're rendered up in space, and then like if I move around a bit, they actually disappear like that. So like I just moved my nose a few degrees and they disappeared. Then I moved it over and they reappeared.
Delay in your stream.
Yeah, so there's things like that.
What system is Plater's Tyranny in?
Hilla, Hilla.
There's Plater's something in my home system of Mittenhas, and I didn't think it was after him, but yeah. Sorry.
Plater's Reach.
Maybe it was written Plater.
It could be.
Well, if it's Plater's Reach, that actually is his station. If it's Plater's Reach,
well, fair enough.
That's his new. Yeah. Okay.
Anyways,
yeah, because there's Plater's Tyranny, which is fully voiced by Plater. Yeah, and then there's Plater's
last thoughts, guys. Come on.
Sorry,
moderating, yay! Carry on.
But yeah, it's just certain things like this that drive me personally so crazy that it really takes away from the rest of it. Now, again, that's just me. Certain things like this just drive me abnormally nuts. So some people may not find this as annoying as I do, but otherwise, Odyssey itself, like there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of fun to be had here, and I'm pleased with what I see. It's just marred by some of the things that drive me personally absolutely nuts. That's my thoughts on it.
Okie dokie. So that's it.
You know what? Why don't we end? Can I ask? Let's end on a little bit more of an up note. Can we just very quickly, everybody, talk about maybe one surprise, one other good thing they didn't mention? I don't know.
Thanks, like XCGS. You skipped me, you prick.
Oh, I thought you said. I thought you already went. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Let the stream show that you first of all took my place, okay?
Go ahead. No. I didn't take your place. I was trying to shorten my own conversation, right? Because I got into something. I thought, well, I'll just close out rather than finish.
Sure.
No,
yeah, just not give Yamiks any time.
Share your fucking opinion.
All right. So my bottom line of basically Odyssey in general is that from a consumer's perspective, it doesn't matter if you are Elite Dangerous fan, player, whatnot else, or complete outsider. The fact of the matter is, Odyssey as a product is completely unacceptable the way it was released, and for the next 6 months, give or take, until the console release, we're going to be seeing slow improvement in or rather, basically the development that should have happened before a release, and it's basically company nonsense that has happened here. And honestly, I would not support it. Again, as I said in my review at the end, maybe this would justify a purchase on a discount after those 6 months, but not now. Certainly not. From any kind of perspective, I find the content, especially the malicious grind that is basically the main gameplay that you're going to be doing most of the time, completely just company MO and being worse than it was before. Now there's of course additional things that are just downgrade, frankly speaking. And for the next 6 months, honestly speaking, go pick up Elite Dangerous, the base game, play Horizon, the Horizons version of it, and enjoy your time while it lasts with a good UI and good planets. And after that, I can't guarantee anything. So yeah, that sucks. But generally speaking, I can't in any good conscience support this kind of a company bullshit and attitude. Of course, also misrepresentation of the product itself. Of course, the mishandling of it, and just disgusting attitude overall. And that all is solely put blame on the upper management of the company. So yeah, and of course all the reviews are deserved and so on and so forth. So yeah, there you go. That's my review. Of course, if you're enjoying it, that's on you. If you're hating it, that's on you as well, right? I give my opinion.
That's on you.
What else? Hey, whatever. You like what you like, you dislike what you dislike.
If you're enjoying it, it's your damn fault.
Essentially, yeah. But yeah, basically, the release was trash, and it was just downright unacceptable from a product release perspective. And then when it comes to features themselves, half of them feel like a downgrade, and the other half basically feels like just part malicious design and part incompetent design. And all that for graphical improvement, and not so sure about that.
Tell us how you really feel.
Penis.
That is perfectly acceptable.
There you go. No, it's also lazy, but you can dispute that because regardless. There you go then. Suppose in a short terms or what else, that'll be my last point. So for the official part, of course, everyone's going to be doing their own thing afterwards or just simply stop. I'll probably, stick around for a little bit to just talk with my audience. XCGS will be doing that to his. Proxim and Spatula, I don't know what you're going to do, but regardless, if you don't know who these guys are, essentially, the asshole who's talking right now, my name's Yamiks. I'm a Latvian prick that basically dislikes everything. Well, these guys apparently like it. So that's me. You can find me on YouTube's. Then there's XCGS, a great tutorial guy that make tutorial video things when he feels like it. Go check his stuff out on the YouTubes, sometimes also on Twitch. Proxim, nowadays on Twitch mostly, but he also made videos back in the day. Damn it, Proxim, you need to make more stuff. And
I'll get back to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I would agree with that too.
And Spatula, also somebody who's been part of the community for quite a bit of time. Give him some love indeed as well on the YouTubes. And yeah, he also needs to make more fucking videos, god damn it. Anyways.
And remember, if you enjoyed this stream, it's your fault.
Ah, damn it. So, any other last things?
As far as Odyssey goes, no. I think I've covered pretty much everything that I want to.
Hopefully stayed on the point then. In that case, well, that'll be it for this evening, at least on the official parts. Stick around.
Last thing I'll say is
just
a quick thank you to Yamiks for pulling this together. He was the one that spearheaded us, invited everybody.
Yeah, this might be the last creator roundtable ever because we can't organize ourselves at all, including myself.
Like stray cats. But you do a good job, Yamiks. You're very on the point and organized, and he's just totally right. This totally came together because of you, sir.
No, you're just pulling my leg. I'm just the biggest piece of shit here on ever, and all I do is just upset people.
That's not true.
That's my sole purpose here.
Yeah, you know what? It's good that I think the interesting part about this stream is we all have like very different opinions, right? Like. I may be more happy with the game. Yamiks, you may be more critical, but together we're able to talk about the game, and there's something to talk about, right? That's great in and of itself. So,
well, being able to have a civil conversation certainly is important. So,
no, absolutely.
So again, thank you very much, Yamiks. Very cool of you to pull us together.
Well, all right then. Well, I'll see you then post-show, folks. Thanks again for coming. Go check out their channels, at least on my end. There are links in the description. I don't know about the rest of the guys. I think Exegius also has those links, so there you go. Yeah. And indeed, hit those subscribe or follow buttons, Wink, wink, notch, notch. There you go.
Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Things.
Later.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
All right then, just for the after show, let's put on slightly different perspective so that it's slightly different in the video. So let's give you guys a little bit of attention, if you will, well, at least as much as I can, for the next a couple of minutes, if you will. So first things first, of course, I got to say big thanks to those that decided to subscribe, or that is subscribe in a Twitch sense, or be generous with a tip, or a donation or something like that. So, I see I4ZZ4R0. Well, all right then. Thank you for subscribing there on the Twitch. I really appreciate your contribution. And JC, ever feel like you have a massive fart brewing? You're excited to let a big one rip, but what? Oh wait, the big one rip, but as you do it, you just poop your pants. Yeah, that's Odyssey. That's an interesting analogy. I wouldn't say quite that. It's my personal favorite analogy, if you will, about Odyssey in general was that, well, basically it was going to a very well-known steak restaurant, yes, to get a meal, like a good steak, and waiter bringing out a basically charred on the outside but completely raw on the inside steak, with a side dish of what did they say? A pumpkin and beets smoothie. Yeah, it's that kind of a thing. It's completely fucking up what you were good at, and basically bringing out something that isn't quite typical of your existing established content, if you will. So there you go. Adester, right? So buy a $5 fishbowl and take a crap in it. Oh no! What I will use that $5 there, buddy, is to pick up something tasty and fuel whatever rage and opinion thing that I have. So I'll do that instead. How about that? But anyways, right? So yeah, basically, overall, Odyssey in general is a massive disappointment. Frankly speaking, something that I didn't expect to be disappointed in, and quite heavily at that. In fact, it's going so far that it enrages me as a, well, self-proclaimed consumer advocate, if you will, or customer advocate, if you will, because the release is just absolutely unacceptable. I mean, really, realistically speaking, yeah, sure, it's just a DLC or expansion, but the whole argument of, well, it's gonna be fixed later. Okay, fine. Let's imagine that argument works, and no disrespect to Peroximor's Spatula, who used that very same line of thinking. It's just no. You should not accept this just garbage porridge, if you will, and just hope for the best. We have seen Frontier development, especially for those that have actually followed Elite Dangerous development for a while. I can tell you that the company's MO is literally to release an MVP, a minimum viable product, and just continue on, and just basically releasing more crap that sells or would bring in attention so that more shit is sold. Let's see. Right. Right. Good. Interesting Interesting post there, right? So, Frontier stock, right? Basically, about the stock market, generally speaking, at least, how much I've noticed in gaming industry. Yes, Frontier Development's stock has been dropping ever since Odyssey has released. However, you have to notice also that it has been growing, and rather rapidly before the release of the thing. The thing is, in gaming industry in general, right, it's a very common thing, in fact, before a big release or a product release for basically a lot of companies, and not only in gaming industry, at least from what I have seen. They basically rise, and quickly before or right after a release of that product, the stocks plummet, basically. Not tremendously, but the thing is, they will plummet regardless. That always happens, at least in my experience, right? But the thing is, generally speaking, the stocks will drop lower and for longer if a product is worse. So this is basically a long waiting game to see the actual result in the financial aspect of the company. But yeah, I mean, 20%, yeah, it is quite something. However, it's not uncommon, frankly speaking. So, well, regardless, we'll see. In the long terms, we'll definitely see what's what and so on and so forth. So, again, I'm not a financier. I don't know much about financing and stock markets and so on and so forth. So, I'm not exactly, inclined to comment it too much. I have only seen things that I've seen. So, that's the way I could explain it. But you might be right. Hey, maybe stocks are dropping exactly because of this bad product. Regardless of that, it's. I mean, you reap what you sow. That's truly reap what you sow. Let's see, Bob Bell. Hold on, let me just turn on the alerts just in case somebody decides to be generous again. I kind of forgot about that. Anyways, Bob Bell. That's right. Yamiks Frontier Development should hire you as a gameplay consultant. Honestly, no. I've said this a few times already. I am not interested particularly to work for such a company anymore. Maybe back at the start, I would have been interested to be, a consultant or what else back when I started making content for it, because the company seemed, amateurish on the public side, but capable, now. Generally speaking, the company has been proven itself to be very insulated in multiple ways. Essentially, the only sort of interaction that the dev team properly seem to have to the general public is through the community management team, and that, frankly speaking, is no way to do it. As a game designer, for example, especially game director, if you want to make an interesting feature for your game, for example, let's say you decide on something new, well, you should have an extremely good grasp on your own community. Ship interiors. Sorry, I had something in my throat here. And then, through that, you can learn not only through just what your, specifically hired people, to put it very kindly, delivers to you. So, yeah, it's been proven time and time again before Odyssey, during Horizons, as a matter of fact, that the principles of the game design, game development in general, has been very archaic, because putting in shit tons of grind in a game is both an indicator of a lazy developer and also kind of a talentless developer, unless it's, of course, done knowingly, maliciously, in fact, to, just simply extend your playtime. Hey, basically, instead of doing combat zones once, maybe twice, each 20 minutes or so to unlock an engineer, how about 10 times? Yeah? Enjoy 10 times. Especially, okay, fuck it. I was about to say, especially considering the frame rate, but you can't predict that. But anyways, let's imagine that the game was running, right? Even if the game was running, those combat zones, doing 10 times of them just to unlock an engineer, and a starting engineer at that. Why? You should encourage basically the good gameplay design, in my opinion, especially for an open world game, is to encourage the player to do, certain types of actions or taking certain features in count, or trying out certain features at least once, and then maybe encouraging repeat visit through maybe a few rewards here and there, not rather just slap a massive fucking grind on it. So yeah, grind, well, frankly speaking, is the biggest issue already. I can tell about the space legs. It's just absolutely disgusting. For me, the most disgusting part is just the fact that they literally went back to the old design, knowing most likely that the new engineering for ships was changed specifically to make it more fair and more, or rather less grindy, specifically talking about material storage, right? That was specifically done so that you don't need to just constantly run back and forth, and you can, or rather you don't need to delete anything from your, not library, but your storage. No, instead of that, let's go back to the old system where we had 1,000 units or 500 units of space, so that you need to, first of all, be careful about what you pick up or delete stuff, and then just go back and forth for 1 or 2 upgrades at the time, rather than properly getting all the materials for what you want immediately with a checklist or something like that, and then just get upgrades. And yeah, in a way, that is true, that you have to encourage your player to not do one specific task over and over and over again too much, so that it doesn't become a monotone gameplay. However, well, Elite doesn't even know what they're doing. In a way, they want you to grind and grind and grind again, but putting in extra steps for the grind to make it feel different doesn't make it better. So there you go. Let's see. Sadly, that's just how it'll work. Frontier will fix 1/3 of the issues, and the fan base reboot into loving Braben. I'm not sure about that. I mean, let's be frank. I don't think that people are that stupid to just, easily forgive a just simply botched release and so on and so forth. If you think a little bit harder, right, just you can see that this is just a release that was not ready, and, well, frankly speaking, features alone are plenty enough to tell you that just it's more of the same crap constantly. But hey, who knows? I mean, there are always opinions, right? Again, today we showcase plenty of that alone, so there you go. Let's see. But yeah, to address the whole UI basically as well, right? So another topic basically that is just confoundingly weird in a way. Why redo the UI? Well, probably the answer is to establish a new era. To basically show that, oh, well, this is, something new, or really a new, page in the book, if you will, sort of to indicate that complete change. And sure, but then why remake it, well, clearly far, far worse than it was? I don't think that, I mean, even considering that, yeah, maybe the UI was specifically made so that you basically have easier time with the controller. But I honestly don't see the menu after menu being easier. I would think that they would condense a few menus together rather than just make a slightly different alteration to it. I know that with the controller, the Galaxy map wasn't the greatest experience, and that is true with also VR. But again, here's the issue, right? With somebody with a hand on the community's pulse would know how to fix these things and improve the UI without sacrificing anything. clearly, yeah, if you knew what the community was thinking, you would know easily that, hey, VR guys are complaining that system map and just Galaxy map in general is just trash. Hey! Thank you, Robert, for becoming a patron. I really appreciate it. But yeah, basically, it's just... It feels like they're out of touch, and, well, yeah, it kind of feels like, in general, they are, because, well, hey, fuck it, you know, we're a company, we need to make profit, not an interesting thing or good product. We are a company, we love being a company, and we really want to be a publisher so that we don't need to do much work, like developing games anymore as well. Honestly, I kind of dread to see what they will turn out to be as a publisher, frankly. If they handle the products that are handed to them as they handle their own. So, yeah. First-person shooter with no hotkey for med pack or battery. The thing is, there is that wheel, right? The quick access wheel, which is actually kind of common thing within a few games. Frankly speaking, yeah, sure, there are usually, you know, more specific healing button, even in controller-based, not even FPS games, but just general shooters or even third-person, you know, type of game in general. So yeah, it kind of needs to. But okay, well, if you're talking about FPS in general, oh god, that's a whole fucking topic as well. So right, they're trying to bring in new people with the FPS mechanic, which is the most developed, you know, feature of it. Oh, and ResDev, hey guys, nice to see you in the chats there. But anyways, but yeah, but about the FPS, it boggles the mind. Are you really gonna tell me that this kind of an FPS gameplay, where NPCs are extremely bullet spongy, and you have on top of it just, frankly speaking, confusing, confounding, and annoying resistance mechanic on top of it, do you really think that bullet sponge in of itself will bring in gamers from, you know, FPS games? Even if they, you know, consider still a game with a casualness acceptable. Sure, there will be some, but in general terms, it just... I don't see that happening. The FPS model is far too boring, and it doesn't have any particular unique aspects aside from the open world, you know, which most of the time you're going to be still traveling with a ship, especially considering that you have super limited energy on your spacesuit. It's just... the FPS gameplay just screams boring crap. And yeah, I've commented about the way FPS basically is a foundation level of just development rather than actual, you know, developed thing. But still, well, then there's of course the menus and UIs as well. But even on top of that, right? Even if you compare the FPS portion of Elite Dangerous to the ships, right? You have far less stats for the weapons and their functionality than you have for the ship weapons and their stats. Now, of course, actually, I can show you that. Let me just show you that you can't even see your own ship's stats as you're, you know, swapping between them. Let me just. Let's see, interest service, yes. Let's say I want to buy a ship. Okay. In Horizons, right? As much as there is rather a lack of description of many things, it's still just not particularly a lot of well, there's far more information about the ship than this. Like, for example, right, you see what hard points does the ship have when you're buying it, or especially when you want to find a ship within your list of ships, and let's say you have bazillion of anacondas that you use for module storage. How do you know which anaconda has the modules that you need at that point? Because it won't show you. It's literally a downgrade. For example, right? I want to order, let's say I have all these anacondas. Let's say all of these are anacondas, and I want to get my, favorite anaconda here. How will I know that it has the equipment that I want? I can't. Pure and simple. This is all the data that they give us. Literally, just the stats. And will you memorize those? Will you memorize those stats for your favorite ship? Maybe. How about your second favorite? Or after that? Now, of course, I'm a person who only keeps one of each ship, so relatively it is easy for me to remember which one is for which. However, let's say, and I constantly do this, put specific parts on ships that, I either need a space for in my module storage, or, just simply I used that particular part for a specific stream or build or something fun, and then just simply put it in my storage and never used it before, and now suddenly I need that part. Will I find that part quickly? Fuck no. So yeah, it's a downgrade and confusing choice in UI. As I said past in the videos multiple times. It's just, it feels like the UI, again, UI is the most polished thing that doesn't glitch out as much as the rest of the things, although SpaceX stuff is questionable regardless. It's, generally speaking, UI is finished, right? It's the most probably finished of the Odyssey features ever. And it's a downgrade. It's a pure fucking downgrade, which just makes me, both mad, sad, and everything, frankly. Let's see, ResDev, maybe it's part of the plan to make Elite Dangerous 2 by destroying Elite Dangerous playability. Jesus Christ, maybe. I highly doubt it, but well, that's some that's an interesting conspiracy theory, but I highly doubt it. Obviously, they would sell more copies if they made a quality product. Anyways, Cesaru Senpai, yes, almost 24 hours to grind, trying to get only 26 electromechanical arrays. Yeah, I mean, my experience trying to get 40 opinion polls so that I can unlock that engineer that requires those. That requires me selling opinion polls to the bartender, right? Yeah, those things also are pretty hard to gather, frankly speaking. So, yeah. A lot of these things are just time wasting. It's not even time grinding, because time grinding basically would be just, hey, you did an action, like in those mobile games. You did an action. Now the next action is 10 minutes. After you perform that action, the next one is an hour. After that, it's 24 hours. That super freemium garbage on mobile. No, it's not exactly that. It's just time wasting grind, basically. So yeah, it's pretty fucking sad overall. Feature-wise, I just really can't see this being sold to anyone. And of course, even before we get to the actual value of this thing, bottom line is that this is just not acceptable for a product in general. Doesn't matter whom it is for. And frankly speaking, in my opinion, sure, people give too much leniency to this, but basically seeing the MO of the company, I don't hold hope. Really, I don't. That they will fix everything like what they could be doing once, let's say, the game would be given enough time to, properly be delivered. That's the funniest thing. As soon as, generally speaking, community stops bitching about things, basically the developers will think, well, this is okay for them, so we don't need to develop it fully like we originally intended. We can just scoot by bare minimum. And that's what I don't like, because internally I think that they would have a little bit higher standards. Who knows? But yeah, it's just, why not? Well, again, yeah, I know the answer as to why they did not delay this thing, but they should have delayed this thing. They could easily afford to delay this thing. But just not to lose that 1% of the share value or the shareholder bitchiness, hey, we need to. Maybe there is a little bit of that Tencent incentive within the company. Who knows? Again, remember, yes, Frontier Developments as a company, the developer of this game, has Tencent as their shareholders, partly. They have a stake in the company, the last we checked. So there is that, potentially, but I highly doubt that is completely a, that sort of thing. I don't know. Maybe not. Yeah. Well, I suppose only 9% you say. I think it was 10. No? Well, regardless what it is, I mean, still, a shareholder is shareholder, right? I mean, they had plenty of shareholders for Cyberpunk to release early because they were whining. So, who knows? But yeah, I'm a strong believer in delaying a product until it's actually done. On the bright side, funny thing is, with Star Citizen, at least you can say that they are, at least brave enough to say to everyone, we're just gonna release Squadron 42 or information about it even, or release date for it when we're ready. Rather than, what was previously stated, like the end or middle of 2021, or was it 2022? 2020, that is. You can at least respect that. It's far more respectable than just quite literally getting in the room and just taking a big shit in middle of it. And then asking $40 fucking on top of it for it. Eesh. But yeah, no, I suppose for the end I might as well, focus on something positive, and there is none. But no, okay, fine. I'm just being a prick here a little bit, right? So on the positive side, hold on, Harold. We forget after every failed feature / expansion or failure to fix year-long bugs, multiplayer has basically been abandoned for years. Oh, yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, there are features that are abandoned that are for solo as well. That are... Aww. A new patron too. Bob! Thank you, Bob! You're awesome, Bob! Thanks for becoming a patron there and so on. But, right, about the abandoned features. And the thing is, my biggest bugbear are specifically two things oftentimes when I talk about abandoned features, and that's multi-crew, which is a multiplayer co-op thing, and yeah, that has been quite literally abandoned. And yeah, the funny thing is now you can have a multi-crew member take control, if it's a physical multi-crew, quote-unquote, of an SRV, but a telepresence multi-crew can't. It's disappointing. Fucking multi-crew SRV was one of the things that sorely was missed from it. And of course now, about the other feature that truly saddens me, just absolutely, and that is squadrons. And then honestly, I can end the stream, fuck it, yeah, fuck it. Let me just show you how broken it still is. Right, let's open squadrons, right? Let's accept some people here. Yep, hold on. There you go. That's squadrons. This thing has been in the game since beginnings, and there have been absolutely no updates for squadrons. The idea of squadrons themselves was... a guild system. Yeah, we absolutely need a fucking guild system in the game. So much. There are player groups, and if we had an in-game representation of that, that'd be fucking awesome. I come from PlanetSide 2, place where there are outfits with thousands of players in outfits, right? It makes for amazing gameplay and community support. But this was just shat out, and I personally consider squadrons to be an insult to community in general, but that's just me, of course. As somebody who has seen guilds or outfits or, such groups essentially work so tremendously well. And if you have played, in a guild or so on and so forth, you probably know as well the same pain. But yeah, basically, let's see, where was I? Ah, yes, but yeah, the feature-wise, this company just shits out something and abandons it. That's the issue with Frontier developments in general. They just come out, shit something out, and then move on to the next thing. Very barely, minimally supporting it for a little while until it's good enough, and then just moves on. I mean, look at, you can look at other developers that have developed also very grindy games, however, gone back and actually developed further the features and redesigned completely the parts of the game that required it. Warframe, for example, comes to mind. Or, for example, No Man's Sky, in fact. Pure and simple, right? If you need a complete comparison there, too. So, yeah, the one thing I can tell is, well, we should be complaining, we should be bitching, we should be critiquing, we should be raising awareness, we should be, basically talking about the lacking things and issues about this thing, because without, squeaky wheel gets the grease. Without squeaking, this thing ain't gonna change. That's what I've been saying forever. So, and that is mostly why I do these types of examinations. So there you go. But, as I said, to end on a positive note here, right? The positives of Horizons, right? Obviously, I did say that, generally speaking, filming has been, more interesting, especially with the more colors and, of course, also the plant life on the planets. The more up-close scaled, a little bit of different perspective on things through the space. Like, yes, that has been indeed a very, very, very nice thing for at least the video quality in general. So yeah, on the bright side, at least my videos will, continue improving in at least the visuals, so on and so forth. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, gameplay-wise, well, the tutorial, as I said, is a really nice fucking thing that needed to be expanded. Tutorial is broken because, well, if you rush ahead of the voice lines, it just does not continue. It doesn't have if statements, considering that, hey, if the player has achieved this portion of tutorial faster, or already has done it, or, has rushed ahead, well, do nothing. So it's a thing. But anyways, the tutorial is still something that I do want to support far more, because Elite sorely needs an introduction in general. So yeah. Let's see, another positive. Let's go for another positive then. Let me think hard on this one. Because there are a couple of little things that, again, usually when I, take a pause to think of something positive, right, people laugh. But no, the thing is, there are plenty of little things or bigger things that I consider usually. So if I am gonna rank, let's see, not counting obviously the graphics, not counting the planetary looks in at least that visual spectacle testicle, if you will. Let's see. Honestly, I almost want to say galaxy map. Well, there are little things almost done wonderfully for the galaxy map, but the UI in general is trash. Yeah, I really, really like the fact that they implemented in the galaxy map the search, search thing. Basically, you write in half of the system map, and it finds multiple systems with the same starting line. Unfortunately, it doesn't take an account. For example, you want to find Jackson's lighthouse, but let's say, like me, English is not your first language, right? And you don't really know how to properly write Jackson's. Let's imagine that, right? But you know how to write lighthouse. Okay, you write in lighthouse and it doesn't find Jackson's Lighthouse or anything like that. So it matches the first starting portion of the search. So that needs to be improved, of course, but generally speaking, the idea of just writing in a little bit of the thing just does resemble a little bit of that Elite database or any other, third-party tool for systems and so on and so forth. So needs to be improved more of that, and needs to see more of that sort of a quality of life. Basically, just put an Elite database in the game. God damn it. But yeah, there's also copying the planets for the system name is a little button that a lot of people did notice and just shouted out as a good thing. So again, there are these little things, the nuggets that kind of show the potential for almost, making it to being good, if a little bit more, but then, god damn it, I'm going negative again. But then it's again ruined by the UI. Well, I tried. I can't say that I didn't, right? Anyway, so I suppose that's it for today. And as for the Creators Roundtable, I certainly can't promise that it's gonna be, anytime soon another iteration or at all, because again, everyone has their own thing to do and their own lives to take care of, especially now. So who knows whether or not we will get another Creators Roundtable ever again. But well, let's consider that if this was the last one, indeed, big thanks to all the other creators within the community that has been taking part in the Creators Roundtable through the ages. So yeah, it's been indeed a nice collaborative sort of a little thing. So give those guys, all of them basically, a look in, and just don't trust yours truly as your sole opinion point or source. Do examine their perspectives, as crassly different as they are, and draw your own conclusions, as that would be more appropriate for judging something, if you will. So there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream, and I'll probably put this as a public one, because this seemed like a pretty decent discussion and so on and so forth. So I didn't actually expect to make content today, but here we go. So thanks for watching, and other Creator Roundtables, as a matter of fact, can be found on a public playlist down below. Tomorrow, well, we're going to be doing space-based news, also a sort of a little thing that me and Pilot are doing for general gaming stuff, and other live streams are also available on the public playlist. All of them are unlisted, for reasons that I don't want to spam the channel with stuff like that. Oh, Sweepy, thanks for raiding there, but I'm ending the stream literally just now. Oh, well, in any case, 07 all, don't take crap from a company that is certainly capable of sustaining and in fact delaying and making a product that should be worthy of your money. Don't take the bullshit, and well, don't take even my bullshit alone. Examine things hopefully as objectively as you can. Anyways, there you go. And I'll see you then, well, in a video or a stream next time.